Hello YouTube and hello 9th Age community. This is Charles with Every Shade Gaming and I'm bringing you another 9th Age battle report. I got this game in earlier this week against Infernal Dwarves and these are my characters. I have a wizard with the Wand of Stability, Ring of Fire, and 3 spells from Alchemy. He has the Quicksilver Lash, the Word of Iron, and the Signature. I'm running a Prelate as my general. He's got a 1-up and he has the Obsidian Sword, Lock of Suna, and a Lucky Charm for the 1 reroll. Running a Martial BSB, he has the Black Helm and the Dust Stone. He has a 2-up armor save that he rerolls, and he also has the Great Tactician upgrade because I think that's pretty cool to give multiple orders. And then this is the rest of the list. This is actually the same list I ran in the previous battle report, but I made a couple switches. I actually dropped the Halberds for Spears and Shields to afford musicians on both of my Elector Cavalry, and I changed the champion on the Knights of the Sun Griffin to musician as well. I just had a problem with those knights reforming them, and I feel like they just need that musician to pass those quick form tests so they can face the right direction when they need to. And this is my friend's Infernal Dwarf Prophet. So he has Wisdom Master, Lucky Shield, and a Dispel Scroll, and 4 spells from Alchemy. So he does have a 3-up, and he ignores first hit. He's got Molten Copper, Silver Spike, Word of Iron, and the Signature spell. And this is my friend's Overlord. He just painted that model, and it looks awesome. So he's got the Onyx Hammer, the Sprout of Rebirth, a 1-up armor save with the Dragon Mantle, and a Potion of Swiftness. So he's a tough guy. This is my friend's BS. He actually realized his previous build was wrong. I think he had a duplicate item slot. So we actually kind of workshopped the build for this guy, and we came up with the Bluffer's Helm, the Ring of Desiccation, and a shield. So he's a 2-up armor save. You reroll your wounds against him, and he still has the ring. So he lost the Banner Speed, which was really good, but I think he's still a tough character. It's a character you really don't want to put that much damage into. Or you don't want to put that many attacks into because he's just going to wave it off. And then other than the character change, it's the same list my opponent played against me in a previous battle report. So, you know, the 2 things of Incarnates and the Pain Train, the Infernal Engine, and Hobgoblins, and a big block of Core Warriors. This is my deployment. I have a unit of Knights on the right. I have my Steam Tank kind of like holding on that right flank, and then I put down one of the 20 heavy infantry, and then I have my mortar, and then my 10 flagellants, and you can see my rocket battery is in a field, I believe, back there. So kind of hoping the steam tank can hold on this side. And then I have my cannon next to my Imperial Rocketeers in the field, 20 heavy infantry. I have my 11 skirmishing archers behind them, and then my block of 38 Imperial Guard, and my Altar of Foreseeing, Arcane Engine of Foreseeing is behind that. Then I have 20 Militia Archers, 3 Knights of the Sun Griffin, they just have Halberds, and then my 5 more Knights. And then my opponent's deployment, he's got a unit of Hobgoblins on the left, 20 Hobgoblins, and then a Bolt Thrower, and I believe that is a forest that the Bolt Thrower is. And then he's got his unit of 5 Incarnates over here, and then his big block of 36 warriors with his 3 characters in there. Might even be 37 because it looks like a flush 40. And the other side of my deployment, he's got 20 more archers, 5 more hobgoblins. That White Wolf is his hobgoblin hero, who just has a 4-up armor save. No other kit. And then he has another hobgoblin bolt thrower, and then his Pain Train is in his 6 incarnates. So he put quite a bit on this flank, and those incarnates are hard to catch with the flying, so I don't know. And I don't think the Demis or the Knights of Sun Griffin can stand up to him. So I actually dropped quite a bit to get turn 1. So on turn 1, I put the Ready Men, the 3d6 leadership test on the Greatswords, and I put Ready Aim Fire onto the Archers. And there were no charges, so this is the top of the movement phase. So I just I kind of moved up some things, and moved up the Knights a little bit, moved up the Knights. I mean, it's almost impossible to stay 24 inches away from the Pain Train. I think if you stay out of 9 inches, you're usually pretty safe. And then I wanted to move up the Steam Tank quite a bit, but it actually only moved 4 inches with 3d6. So the magic phase goes well. The phase is 4 to 4, which is a little bit low, but I do manage to get this Quicksilver Lash off on his Pain Train. I think I just put 4 dice at it, and I rolled him. I do 2 wounds, which is good. It's a good start. Because that thing's just, it's hard to kill with anything but, alchemy and cannons. And speaking of cannons, my cannon hits turn 1, and it does 2 more wounds to the pain train. So, I mean, it's already got 4 wounds on it. It's a little bit low for both the cannon and the alchemy. I load the roll result for both of those, for the hits and then for the wounds. But, I mean, it's turn 1, he's got 4 wounds on it, and I was pretty happy about that. And then in the shooting phase, the archers shoot at the incarnates, but they don't do any wounds. I don't really remember how much I hit. I really have to work on playing with archers. I'm so used to repeater crossbows or anything else. And I think bows are great with their volley fire, but I had to move these guys to get them in the forest, which I think is just bad deployment. So I just gotta learn how to play with these guys a little bit better, and then they'll be a little more effective for me. At the start of Infernal Dwarves, turn 1, there are no charges, so this is what the bottom of the movement phase looks like in turn 1. So he moved up his Carnage quite a bit, he moves up his block 9 inches, he doesn't really move up his Hobgoblins much. I mean, he might not move them, so he just shoots. He's kind of holding back his staff for the right moment, and then he flips his Incarnates over to the middle, and then he just moves up his Pain Train just 6 to shoot. And then Magic, it was a really ballsy phase for my opponent. It was 6 to 5 dice, and I stopped a Quicksilver Lash first, and then he, I think it was 2 dice, 3 dice, so I still had 2 dice. I might even had 2 dice. I even just threw 2 dice at his 2 dice, and I got lucky. And then he threw 2 dice at a Silver Spike, and he just barely failed it. And then he actually fails a Molten Copper with his 2 last dice. So, I mean, he kind of got a little bit ballsy with the Silver Spike, and it cost him the phase. And then in the shooting phase, the bolt throws don't hit, but the Pain Train does 1 wound to these guys, so not bad. The Hobgoblins shoot, and they kill 1 heavy infantry, which is just so sad. And we move on to EUS turn 2. So I attempt to charge the electoral cavalry at these guys, and they fail. And then I actually charge both the heavy infantry and the flagellants into these guys. It's probably not the best charge, but I need to hold them up. I'm hoping there's 1 flagellant left. And this is what the rest of my movement looks like. So I actually back up the Knights of Sun Griffin. I move up my block a little bit. I'm pretty confident the Imperial Guards block in this game. I think they definitely win with the Arcane Engine against his big block. It's, if he gets multiple charges into me, that's when, things are going to get hard to deal with, for that block. They just can't take too many charges. And then, so in the Magic phase, things go pretty well, too. I get 12 to 6 dice. My opponent does a really good job of managing his dice, but I end up getting Transmutation of Lead off on the Pain Train to lower the strength of his shooting, which I think is great. And then I got Word of Iron off on this block. Since they have Spears and Shields, so they have a 5-up. I cast on the +2 to give him a 3-up. That definitely would help them mitigate a lot of damage. But he uses his Dispel Scroll. So not a bad phase. Turn 2, I get a lot of spells off, and I, pull a scroll. In the shooting phase, the mortar hits and does, I think, 7 wounds, which is awesome. And the cannon misses, unfortunately. I think it's the Pain Train. Or actually, no, it failed to wound. He moved his dogs up really aggressively to threaten these war machines, and I end up putting all the steam tanks. I put the steam tank cannon into it, which misses. Put the breath weapon into it, which only does 1 wound or something like that. The archers shoot; they're hitting on 4s. They only get a couple hits. So when it's all said and done, the unit's still sticking around. I think I wanted to shoot the rocket battery at it because the rocket battery just is not a good target this phase. Or this game, but they miss. And then the archers on my right actually shoot at his hobgoblins and cause them to flee, which is great. And then in combat, things were okay. So I lose all but 1. The best thing is 1 flagellant stays alive and holds up that unit in place. But I lost quite a bit of the heavy infantry unit. I lost 8 guys, and they flee to be right there. Which, yeah, I don't know. I needed that spell from Word of Iron off. So, Infernal Dwarves 2, the Hobgoblin Riders, they charge the cannon on the right. The other unit of Hobgoblins, they flee off the board, which is great, and they're within 6 inches of that bolt thrower, so they cause a panic test, and he fails, and then my opponent decides he's just going to move it away since it really can't shoot anything this turn. And then the rest of my opponent's movement looks like this. So again, he's going to use putting pressure on my right flank. He moved up that wolf hero to chaff my big block, which is rough. And then in the magic phase, my opponent rolls 11 dice to 6, and he gets the silver spike off. I have to let this one go because he had a lot of dice. He gets it off, and he does 1 wound to the Arcane Engine, which isn't too bad. But he got flammable on the steam tank, and he goes and does Quicksilver Lash. And I tried to stop this, but I just rolled really low. I even had my scepter, waiting to be used, and I was unable to use it. I just rolled so. And then in the shooting phase, my opponent's bolt thrower hits the steam tank and does another 3 wounds. So in 2 phases, the steam tank's down to 1 wound now. And then, this was terrible too. My opponent shoots over here, and remember, he's only strength 5 now with Transformational Lead. And he gets 4 hits, he does 3 wounds. I make no armor saves. It was only 5 up armor saves. But then he multiplies it, and he does, there's 1 guy left 1 wound. So I think he does 7 wounds. It was so bad. It was crazy. And then his archers kill a couple of the deers. And then, my opponent's turn 2 was amazing. My opponent almost didn't want to go into this cannon because it's a lot harder for a little light cavalry unit to kill a war machine nowadays. Just because, they're T5 or T4 with 5 wounds. So he goes into the cannon. We don't do any wounds, so he just has a charge. Nobody does wounds. He just has a charge, and I fail an LD8 rerollable test, and he destroys it, and he runs into the archers, which I was really sad about. Which it was bad placement with the archers on my part, but really sad about the leadership test. So at the start of EOS turn 3, I finally get these knights into these hobgoblins, which are one of my opponent's scoring units that you need to kill. And in the magic phase, it's 8 dice to 6, and the only spell I get off is Transmutation of Lead on the big block here. I actually charged, he put his Wolfrider trap up there, and I did charge that guy. And then in the shooting phase, the mortar was strong in this game. I'll tell you what, it hit again, and it did another 7 or 8 wounds. It was awesome. Combat goes okay over here. I do 4 wounds, which was I was just 1 wound short. This is actually after the reform, and he sticks. And then combat here again. So I even have +1 to hit. Got 4 attacks with +1 to hit. I hit once. On 3 ups, I hit once. Don't do a wound. Actually, I do a wound with it, and he does 3 wounds to me, which is also just really well. He's hitting on 4s, wounding on 4s. Maybe 6 attacks, and he just does 3 wounds. So it comes down to a leadership 6 rerollable test, and I fail this one too. So they flee. And the Wolf Riders pursue them off the board, which is crap. So at the start of Infernal Dwarves 3, he charges the Incarnates into the Archers. I couldn't really flee with them. Yeah, it was bad positioning on my part too. I put my Knights and Sun Griffin behind them. And then he charges the Steam Tank, wanting to kill it off. Only got 1 wound, shouldn't be too hard. And then this is how the rest of his movement looks like. So he reformed his block to be a block again. And then he moved up his archers to chaff my big block again, and then he's got those Incarnates into the archers, and he moved up the Pain Train to shoot at the Arcane Engine. The magic phase is 7 dice to 5 dice. He gets another silver spike off on the altar, or the Arcane Engine. It keeps collecting the altar, and he does 2 more wounds to it, so it has 2 wounds left, and then he also gets Molten Copper off on the Imperial Guard, and he does 4 wounds there. I think he had the Flammable attribute 2 up on them, and he just rolled poorly, which was nice. And then in the shooting phase, he's able to kill the Arcane Engine with his Pain Train. Combat is, as you would expect, he rips through a ton of the archers. He doesn't kill enough to break their steadfast, and they have the parents' ranks, so they stick. And then, thankfully, over here, he doesn't do a wound to the Steam Tank. I don't do a wound to either of them. And then combat over here goes well. I actually lose a knight, which I thought that would spell my doom, but he reduced his leadership range, so I end up chasing those guys down after they fail a leadership, 6 test with no reroll. So not too crazy. Running the bolt thrower. At the start of EOS turn 4, I put on the double on both of these blocks, and I charge the Hobgoblin archers because they're also on the scoring unit. My scoring units that he needs to get are both the knight units and that little unit of halberdiers that went into the incarnates. And then I move up the other unit of heavy infantry to chaff the big block. Magic was pretty quick. I got a bunch of dice, but I only really had the bounce spells to cast because my engine said, my wizard said. So I just get Volan's Blessing off after I fail to get, or I get the ward off, but he stops it. And then in combat, I crush the hobgoblins. I actually kill them all with all the attacks. He kills all the archers. I reform to face them like that. And then I also beat the bolt thrower, which is great. And then I reform to look this way. And then in the steam tank combat, he's able to get that. He does like 3 wounds, and I just can't roll enough 3-ups. So he kills the steam tank, which is unfortunate. And he reforms. And then he charges on his turn the knights, which is unfortunate. And he didn't need a long charge here, so he makes this one. And he also charged this. I totally didn't see this coming. Those guys are just so good at flying over stuff and getting into combats I don't expect. In the magic phase, he does Molten Copper on these knights, and he actually doesn't do any wounds. I think he does he does like a couple wounds, but I pass my 5-up armor saves, which is great. And then in combat, he easily kills those knights. Even with 4-up armor saves, those things got a lot of attacks. They're tough, man. And they end up overrunning, but they don't take any DTs. They're going through that forest. And over here, these guys also, there's only 3 of those guys left, but they do get away. And he also charged his hobgoblins into the mortar, and he does like 3 wounds with 4 attacks. I poke 1 wound onto the wolf riders, and I think I needed like a leadership 3 or 4 tests, and I passed it. So pretty sweet. The mortar's alive, and this is actually the end of game shot here. We ran out of time for this game, and we had to call it. So my blocks faced the wrong way. His block actually turned to face those knights to kill them. He's still got his pain train left. I really can't do much to that. The Rocketeers are alive, but they can't really do much damage. So I think I would keep my scoring units alive, or at least the 1 unit of heavy infantry. So end of game, it's 1586 battle point difference between us. He just cleaned up a lot of points. So it's a 14-6, but I actually had the objective because I killed his 2 hobgoblin units, and he didn't. He only killed 1 of my knight units. So it actually ends up becoming an 11-9. So the Infernal Wars still sneak out a small win, but not as big as if we played more turns. Which, if we did play more turns, I think he would pick up a lot of points. I think it's just so hard to. It's hard to engage that big block at this point too for me, because even if I turn around, I get close to it. He's got those 2 incarnate units left on the board. And it was some good maneuvering. He could bring them into the flanks, bring them in the rear, and I can only take on so many units at one time with that big block. They can stick there for a long time because I'm immune to fear with the Black Helm. I have Bodyguard, but I'm still just gonna keep losing. I don't think that Greatsword unit could last more than 2 turns in combat with like an incarnate in the flank or the rear, or with that big block in the front. So he would definitely pick up more points. I think the mortar would stay alive. I would hope I would do 1 more wound to the wolf riders. But this was a fun game, and it's been great just having a couple more relaxed games with the Empire Sonnstahl. Thank you for watching, and have a great day.